when you're doing a presentation and you're using visuals, it can be a challenge because the audience is focused on either you or the visual. And they've got to decide which one they're going to focus on. Have you had that experience? You're in a presentation and trying to figure out what to focus on, like this humongous visual there, and all this stuff is going on, and the presenter's up there, and you're just trying to figure, okay, which one really here is more important? Which one really here is what is this whole thing about? It's about the presenter, what they're doing, it's about the visuals, and this thing can kind of go back and forth, and you get confused about it. Now, the problem is, of course, if you're the presenter, you got to figure that out too. Is it about you, or is it about how do I make it clear what's going on up here? How do I get the audience attention and keep it all the way through the presentation? Because the challenge is visuals can be so powerful, so overwhelming, that they just blow everything away. And you may have experienced this. Or you're at a presentation, or you're going to some other speaking event, the visuals are just so wow, you're like, oh man. Sometimes TEDx things can be like that, if you've seen TEDx. You take a look and wow, there's all this cool visual stuff going on, you just forget about the speaker. Hey, there's all this neat visual stuff happening. And of course, in a highly connected world with a lot of technology, there's this kind of encouraging this idea. But really, it's all about the visuals, baby. Gotta get those visuals down, and that's the whole thing. But the challenge is for a speaker that if it's all about the visuals, what are you doing up there? I mean, think about it. If the whole thing is about the visuals, and all this great stuff happening on the screen behind you, why do we need you? In fact, there is a function in PowerPoint that allows you to record your entire talk and line them up with the visuals. So you can just email this thing to the person and they never even need to see you. They just go all the way through the thing and there's the visuals, there's the talk, and everything's fine. Don't need you. But of course, if you're actually presenting, that creates a bit of an issue. Because if the whole audience is thinking, why do we need this clown? Well, that's going to be a problem because this clown is going to be there all the way through it. And if you don't get that attention and keep that attention going, then there are problems. There's a lot of things you can do to make this work, but also to make visuals work. But also, if you think about it, there are these three major things you can focus on. There are a lot of things you can talk about visuals, but if you focus on these three things in particular, you'll find your visuals are a lot more interesting and more effective. And so today, you're going to find out a little bit more about what it is really that helps the presenter handle that whole visual situation. How does it deal with a presenter being this tall compared to a screen that's like this tall, which happens a lot? What are the things you do? And actually, there's a kind of a mindset you want to have right from the very beginning, which is important. And then as you start creating the visuals, there's kind of something to think about all the way through. And then finally, you want to really wrap it up by understanding how the audience works. What's really going on through the audience's mind? What's really going on through the audience's eyes? And understanding those things will help you make better visuals. Making better visuals will help people understand, hey, you, the presenter, do add value. You aren't just some recorded voice. You're important up there. And that's what you're going to find out about today, how to make your visuals work. Well, you've probably seen it. The humongous visuals, the tiny presenter. It's just the way the audience sees things. Have you ever been in the audience at one of these big presentations and you see that screen going up just 2 stories sometimes? Sometimes they'll have a thing, the screen will be as big as basically a movie screen. And there's this tiny, compared to the screen, a tiny presenter in front. You're thinking, well, geez, get that presenter out of the way so I can see the screen better. What's the presenter even doing there? But the presenter can change things too. The presenter has the right mindset. The right mindset will change everything. And get the audience understanding why the presenter's there in the first place. Because the presenter really needs to be presenter focused. Presenter focused. And what that means is that you really don't want your visuals to take over. I mean, they may be 2 stories high, all right, but somewhere in there, the presenter has to find a way in. The presenter has to make things work. Now, on TV, quite often, you'll find that the visuals they have are much smaller than the presenter. And that simplifies things. So you've got this presenter, talking head, sometimes they're called, and then behind them they'll project visuals. Here's the various thing of this news and that news, and it's a standard format in news. Presenter's head, right next to the presenter's head, smaller, pictures of stuff going on behind them. This is happening and that's happening. Here's the news today. Presenter stares out at the camera, and meanwhile all this stuff is happening beside their head, basically, right over here. But your attention's on the presenter because the screen of things happening is much smaller than the presenter. The presenter dominates the whole picture. The challenge, of course, is that quite often that's not the situation. Quite often you don't have a presenter with a tiny visual next to their head when you're giving a presentation. What you have is a tiny presenter with a huge visual behind them. So what do? Well, make sure you always keep the focus on presenter. Talk a little bit more how to do that in some of these upcoming steps. One simple thing you can do is blank the slide. Focus people to focus on you. Focus people to focus on you. So everything is going to bring their attention into you. So although there's all this big slide, fine, you got that, okay. All right, you've seen it, boom, blank the slide. And all that really means is just put a blank slide in there. So if you've got a presentation, you've got all these graphics and stuff, you know, a graphic slide, fine, make the next slide completely black. The effect of that, when you project it, will be all of a sudden the slide just, when you hit the black slide, everything just goes away. All of a sudden the pictures behind you vanish, that huge 20-foot, 2-story tall, whatever thing suddenly goes away, and boom, the audience is forced to look at you. You say, okay, yeah, or, oh, all right, presenter, yeah, all right. Stay presenter focused. And think about that all the way through. You're saying, okay, how do I bring the audience's attention to me, even when I need to explain them some stuff in some sort of visual or another? Presenter focused. And figure out how to get that attention down there. So the audience doesn't think, oh, who's that tiny guy next to that humongous visual? Cool visual. Who's that idiot in front of it? You don't want your audience to think that. You want them to think, oh, okay, presenter's talking about something. What they're talking about? Oh, okay, I get it. The visual explains it. Okay, yeah, all right, now presenter's talking it. Okay, great. So blanking the slide, a simple thing you can do. You can also pause. Pause, let the audience read what's on the slide, then blank it. Simple. Now there's a challenge about that, and something you really need to do and think about. I mean, even if you have a presenter focused, okay, that's great, but it does create the issue, okay, how do you really make that happen? Sure, blank the slide, yeah, but the audience, how are they going to get that information from the slide? How do the audience get enough information from that slide? That could be a challenge. But at least if you start presenter focused, you're ahead of the game. But still, how do you make sure that The audience gets what's on the slide. All right. You're presenter focused. Your whole mind is thinking, all right, I'm a presenter. I'm up there presenting. I want to make sure everything goes well. Great. That's the first thing. But there's also this issue about, okay, you want people to focus on you, but you also got this huge slide you have to deal with. Now, a simple thing, of course, is say, well, let's just not have any visuals at all. But sometimes you kind of need them. Sometimes they're important. They give important supporting information that the audience really needs to have, and frankly, you can't really deliver any other way. So if you have to use some sort of visual, and it's going to be a two-story visual because that's the way presentations are today, how do you really keep that attention to you, but making sure the audience gets that visual, that thing behind your head? Oh, okay, I get it. That humongous thing. All right, I see it. Fine, I get it. And one thing to keep in mind is less is more. Less is more. When you're designing these slides that are going to be appearing above you and behind you and humongously, remember, less is more. There are all sorts of things you can do with slide presentations these days. Bells and whistles and things and sweep up and down and around and all this sort of stuff going. You can create a kind of a symphony of slides and all these things flashing back and forth and up and down and right and left and all that stuff. But it just takes attention away from you. The flashier you make that crazy slide behind you, the more your audience focuses on it and the less your audience focuses on you. So think about less is more. What do you really need to have on the slide? Think about that in terms of words. What words do you really need to have on the slide? What words don't you need? If you're going to do bullets, where you have bullet points, okay, but each bullet's like a headline. Just a very brief headline, and the audience then has to depend on you, the presenter, to kind of fill in stuff. I just look up and say, okay, all right, I see the points, but what does it mean? The presenter will explain it. So all of a sudden the audience says, oh, that's what the presenter's for, to explain things to me. I get it. I take a look at the slide, I understand what's going on. Not, but I see the points they're talking about. Why do these points matter to me? The presenter's explaining all that. If you make your slides too complex, too many words on it, for instance, then the audience looks at it and they're like reading and reading. Presenter's talking, it's like, shut up, I'm still trying to read here. Or the presenter starts reading everything back to them. That's stupid. They're like, I can read for myself. The audience is out there looking at that slide and okay. But if it's quick, it's like 2 or 3 words, 3 bullets, 2 or 3 words. You're like, okay. I got it. Now, it doesn't mean the presenter can help the audience out. Be quiet, let the audience kind of get it. It's less, but they still need to read it. So it's like, okay, if you're the presenter, here's my point. Okay. Now, that first point means, then talk about it. Second point means, third point means, and you start going into these things more in depth. And also now it says, oh, this presenter's added some value to it. I get it. Okay, fine. So keep it simple. It's the same thing with graphics. The audience looks at a graphic, they should instantly get the point. So if you have a graphic that shows something like this happening, and you say, sales are increasing, and it's going to say, what do you mean? I mean, it's going like this, right? That's not increasing. Now, maybe in some weird way sales are increasing, but if you're showing a graph like this, that's not going to show it. But if you show a graph sales increasing, that graph better go up. That's simple. People should be able to get it. You don't want your slide to be so complex and so that people need to, oh, wow, forget about that. If you've got a point, pick the data that's going to represent that point the best and the clearest. Sales are flat. Okay, the graph should look like this. Sales are increasing, they're going up. Customer satisfaction decreasing, like that. Really simple, really powerful. Less is more. Keep those slides, keep those visuals simple, whether it's Word or whether it's graphics and charts. Less is more. Make sure when you do your visuals, your presentation, you use less. All right, your visuals are getting off to a pretty good start. First of all, you understand that you're focused on the presenter. So all this visuals you're creating, they should all refer back to you. Just a little bit of information, fine, but it should basically come back to you. You're using blank slides, so people are forced to look back at you and pay attention to you. And most importantly, you're starting to think less is more. Hey, I get it. Less is more, so it's very small bits of information. Now, the last thing to think about is something that's very subtle, but very powerful. And it will really be the final thing that will help your visuals really pop in front of your audience. And keep it in mind. And it has to do with eye movement. What you want to do is you want to minimize eye sweeps. Minimize eye sweeps. Now maybe about now you're thinking, Tim, what the heck is an eye sweep? It's like a chimney sweep? I mean, what is an eye sweep? What are you talking about? Well, here's the thing, is that when you're looking at something, your eye automatically scans it. And it scans it from left to right. So it'll start here, it'll go here, and it'll go here, because that's the natural way. It's just a natural way the eye moves, particularly in the West, because that's the way you read. So your eye naturally sweeps this way. You're reading across. What that means is if you have a lot of text, your eyes continually, the audience eyes continually going back and forth. All these different carriage returns, back and forth, back and forth. So they read, return, read, return, read, return, read, return. That's another reason why less is more. So you want to consciously say, okay, how am I going to design this so the audience can quickly get it at a glance? One scan all the way across, they get it. I mentioned bullets. If you have 3 bullets spaced apart from each other, the audience can sweep across and pretty much get it in one sweep. Maybe it'll take 2, but they'll get it. Or even better, if you have a series of bullets, reveal them one at a time. Then the audience only has to sweep once. One eye sweep. Okay, that's the first bullet. Talk about it, explain a little bit. Okay, reveal the next one. Boom! One eye sweep the audience does. Okay, it's the next bullet. Fine. And that means your audience doesn't get tired out reading your graphics. Have you ever experienced eye strain, or just suddenly you just didn't know why, but as the presentations rolled on and more of these texts and stuff came, you just started feeling really tired. All of a sudden you started feeling tired. You thought it must be the glare on the screen or something. No, it's because your eye has been going like this all the way along through this entire presentation. So that's crazy. Another problem could be, especially with graphics, where the eye wants to go like this, but all of a sudden some graphic will be like this. Your eye goes like over here, okay, over here, here, different things, catches attention, and the eye just jumps all over trying to figure out what the heck is going on here. So like if you have a chart that goes like this, but has a huge thing here explaining something, then your eye sweeps up and it has to kind of come down here. Or if your eye has, you have a sweep like this, but you have something graphic over here explaining maybe about the chart, your eye sweeps up and then boom, it has to come all the way back to here. Much better if you have something your eye sweep up that at the very top can explain what the whole graphic is. Or if you go down, then at the very bottom of it, you can have some explanation of what's going on here. You can minimize eye sweeps in your graphic just by making sure when the eye finishes, whether the chart's going up or the chart's going down, any text you have is at the place where the eye will naturally finish. So, if you're going up, right over here would be a nice place to put something. If it's going down, right here would be a good place to put something. But don't go up like this and then put something over here, because that just causes problems. Because then people look up and sweep up, and especially if you have something here and then you have like, ever seen one of these graphics where they have pictures like all over the place, and here's a text here, and oh this, and they get little arrows and stuff pointing. You're like jumping all over trying to figure what the heck is going on? Don't do that. Minimize eye sweeps. Think about the eye naturally going back and forth like this, and try to minimize that so the eye goes back and forth as little as possible. When you're doing a presentation, sometimes it's necessary to use graphics. When you use graphics, be aware of these three things. Firstly, make sure your whole presentation is presenter focused. Everything should be about you, the presenter, not about your graphics. If your graphics are so exploding and so 2 stories tall and so jumping up and down all over the place, that just takes all the attention away from you. People wonder, well, geez, why do we have this presenter person at all? We got this cool graphic stuff going on. If your graphics are cooler than you, people will tune you out. So, make sure things are presenter focused. Maybe blank the screen. So it forces people to take their attention from the, oh, nothing up there anymore. Got to look at the little guy. Got my 2-story tall graphic. I see it. All right. Up. Break in the movie. Better look at the narrator. That's simple. Give people a little pause, allow them to read it, but then blank slide, down to you. And think about less is more. Less is more. When you're creating these graphics, you're creating these images, use less. Use as few words as possible. Think about, when you're explaining something in a bullet, think about it as like a headline, not a sentence. Just, boom, here's a line of it. Okay, got the point. And don't put that much stuff in there. Force the audience to come to you for all the explanations. They take a look at it, and they think, oh, okay. All right, what does that mean? Don't know. Oh, the little guy in front of the graphic is talking. Better pay attention to that. That's simple. So people take a look, they get an idea what it's talking about, and you fill in the rest of the details. So you might have a presentation, something like, here are the 3 important points to cover. And bing, bing, bing. People say, okay, yeah, they're important, but what exactly are those points? And then you provide that. You say, okay, these points, first point is about, and you give it more depth, more explanation of it, more richness to it. So you kind of justify your own position there. Justify what you're doing. So people get it, they understand it. Figure out how it all fits together. And then finally, minimize eye sweeps. Your eye naturally goes like this. All the way through the presentation, that's what it's doing. It's going back and forth, back and forth. But that gets tiring. That's why you get tired in long presentations. With all the graphics up there. Your eye is swooping back and forth all the time, and it gets really tiring. So minimize them. Make it simple. Remember, it's not about them reading your document up there. It's about them focusing on you. So make it simple. Simple way to do it with bullets is just reveal. Okay, first level bullet. Here's 1 point. All right, I'm going to explain the point. Another reveal. Reveal second level. Second point. Third level. Reveal third point. Simple thing to do. Just revealing one after the other, and that way the eye only sweeps once. They get the point. Sweeps again. They get the point. Sweeps again. They get the point. Otherwise, it's like sweep, 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 and your eyes are going across 3 times. By the time you get to the presenter, you're like, oh, okay. And it's a longer time you have to pause. You have to look at there, okay, all right, read, 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 and you have to guess how long it takes the audience to read. The audience is reading away. You're the presenter waiting like, okay, when am I going to finish this stuff? Like, okay, I think they're done now, maybe. But if it's really quick, boom. All right, you got that. I'm going to talk about that. Minimize eye sweeps. And finally, to really get that graphic, it's all about, exactly, minimize eye sweeps. Think about also what happens with the graphics of data. Same sort of thing. Make sure your data really clearly shows what's going on. So the eye doesn't have to kind of jump around and try to figure, what does this graphic mean? They get it. They understand it instantly and powerfully. And if you start doing that, your visuals accompany you, do not replace you. Your visuals accompany you. You'll find that you're more confident presenting. People are more focused on what you're saying. They're more aware of what you're saying. And instead of your audience thinking, oh, geez, why do I have that presenter? They're thinking, oh, I'm glad the presenter is there to explain stuff to me. And your graphics actually help reinforce the need for you, the presenter. So when you're using graphics or you're doing a presentation, keep in mind these three things, and you'll have effective graphics, and you'll have a much more interested and involved audience.